Love on the Wild Frontier. Chapter 1. Trouble on the horizon. The sun hung low in the endless expanse of the desert sky, casting long shadows over the quiet town of Boot Hill. The wooden buildings that lined the dusty streets creaked in the relentless heat, and the few souls who braved the sweltering afternoon sun sought refuge in the shade of rickety porches and weathered awnings. Sheriff John Jenkins stood in the doorway of the jailhouse, his broad shoulders blocking out what little light managed to find its way inside. He squinted as he watched the stagecoach approach, a plume of dust rising in its wake. The arrival of strangers was always an event in Boot Hill, and he was determined to keep a close eye on anyone new to town. The stagecoach rumbled to a stop in front of the local saloon. The townsfolk gathered to catch a glimpse of the newcomers. The door of the stagecoach swung open, and out stepped a woman who seemed to be an anomaly in this rough and tumble town. Dr. Carolyn Westwood was a vision of grace and poise. Her auburn hair cascaded down her back in loose curls, and her dress, though practical, was fashioned in a way that accentuated her every move. She carried a leather medical bag in her gloved hand, and her eyes shone with a determined glint as she surveyed her new surroundings. The townsfolk whispered amongst themselves, and Jenkins couldn't help but overhear their speculations. "What's a proper lady like her doing in Boot Hill?" one man mused. Jenkins knew better than to judge a book by its cover, especially in a place like Boot Hill. He'd seen all kinds pass through this town, some looking for a fresh start, and others looking to hide from their past. But there was something different about Dr. Caroline. She exuded an air of confidence and purpose that intrigued him. He waited until the last of the dust settled before he stepped forward, his spurs jingling with each purposeful stride. Jenkins tipped his hat, revealing his rugged face with a chiseled jaw and deep-set, piercing eyes. "Welcome to Boot Hill, ma'am," he drawled in a deep, gravelly voice that carried the weight of years of experience. "I'm Sheriff John Jenkins, and I'm here to ensure you find your stay in our town as pleasant as possible." Dr. Caroline Westwood met his gaze with a nod, her expression a mix of determination and appreciation. "Sheriff Jenkins, I'm grateful for the warm welcome," she replied with a soft melodic voice that hinted at a refined upbringing. "I've come to Boot Hill to set up my medical practice. It seems like the kind of place where people could use a doctor's care." Jenkins couldn't help but admire her spirit. Boot Hill was a far cry from the bustling cities where most doctors would set up shop. "Well, ma'am, we'll do our best to make you feel at home here. If you need any assistance getting settled or have any questions about the town, don't hesitate to ask." As Dr. Caroline made her way to the clinic she had rented, Jenkins watched her with a sense of curiosity he hadn't felt in a long time. He knew that this town, with all its lawlessness and rough edges, had just gained a glimmer of hope in the form of a doctor who was ready to make a difference. Little did Sheriff Jenkins know that this newcomer would not only tend to the physical ailments of the town, but also mend his own heart in ways he couldn't yet imagine. The story of Boot Hill was about to take an unexpected turn, and the chapters that followed would be filled with love, adventure, and the unbreakable spirit of a small western town.